The roar of the crowd is deafening. The spotlight shines on two of the most powerful figures in boxing today. The tension is palpable, hanging in the air like a heavy fog. On one side stands a giant, a man with the presence of a legend, the undefeated heavyweight champion, whose confidence is as unshakable as his massive frame. On the other, a master tactician, a smaller yet equally menacing figure, with lightning-fast reflexes and an unrivaled boxing IQ. The world's eyes are fixed on this moment, as two kings of the ring are about to clash in a battle for supremacy. It's the ultimate showdown, Tyson Fury vs. Oleksandr Usyk. This is not just any match. This is the fight that boxing fans have dreamed of, speculated about, and anticipated for years. A clash of styles, a collision of different fighting philosophies, each fighter representing something unique within the sport. Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King, known for his flamboyant personality, intimidating size, and unparalleled ring craft. And Oleksandr Usyk, the master of the sweet science, a man whose fluid movement and tactical brilliance have baffled opponents and earned him a reputation as one of the smartest boxers of his generation. As these two warriors step into the ring, the stakes couldn't be higher. Fury, the self-proclaimed lineal heavyweight champion, has held his claim to the throne for years, defeating some of the biggest names in boxing. His win over Deontay Wilder in their thrilling trilogy cemented his status as the man to beat. Usyk, on the other hand, has dominated the cruiserweight division before stepping up to heavyweight, where his technical prowess earned him the WBA, WBO, and IBF titles. Both men have reached the pinnacle of their careers, but only one can walk away with the undisputed heavyweight championship. The question is, who will emerge victorious in this battle of strength versus skill? In one corner, Fury brings raw power, size, and a mental edge that has broken the wills of many opponents. His ability to absorb punishment and keep coming forward is legendary, and his unorthodox style often leaves his opponents confused and unable to anticipate his next move. But can Fury's imposing physicality match the cerebral approach of Usyk, who relies on finesse and precision rather than brute force? Usyk, while the smaller fighter, is no less dangerous. His footwork is a thing of beauty, his punches sharp and deliberate, always targeting the weakest points of his opponent's defense. What he lacks in size, he more than makes up for in speed and technique. His ability to dictate the pace of the fight, using angles and quick reflexes, has left many bigger fighters unable to keep up. But against Fury's power and unpredictability, will Usyk's technical brilliance be enough to outsmart his opponent? As the bell rings and the two fighters come to the center of the ring, the energy in the arena is electric. Each punch, each movement, is analyzed by millions of fans watching around the world. It's more than just a fight, it's a defining moment in the sport's history. The outcome of this match will not only determine who holds the title, but also shape the future of heavyweight boxing for years to come. Will Fury's strength prove too much for the smaller, quicker Usyk? Or will Usyk's tactical mastery be the key to dethroning the giant? The clock is ticking. The anticipation is unbearable. Every round could bring a new twist, a new revelation. As the first few exchanges unfold, it's clear that this is no ordinary fight. Fury's wild, unpredictable punches clash with Usyk's calculated, smooth counters. The pace is fast, the tension high. But even as the action intensifies, one question remains unanswered. Which fighter will adapt faster, adjust their game plan, and claim the victory? With both fighters already showing signs of brilliance, there's no telling how this fight will unfold. Each moment feels like it could be the turning point. Will Fury's size and raw strength overwhelm Usyk? Or will Usyk's technical skill, speed, and ring IQ outclass the Gypsy King? The answer will come only after a battle that could change the course of boxing history. The story is only just beginning, and in this ultimate showdown, anything can happen. But one thing is certain, no one will walk away from this fight unchanged. As the bell rings and the fighters settle into their stances, it's not just a battle of fists unfolding before the crowd, it's a fight for legacy. The journey to this moment wasn't simple for either of them. Tyson Fury, the larger-than-life figure, has been through it all. His rise to the top is the stuff of legends, but it hasn't been without turmoil. From his early days, when he stunned the boxing world by defeating Vladimir Klitschko to claim the heavyweight crown, to his struggles with mental health and battles outside the ring, Fury has fought just as fiercely in his personal life as he does in the squared circle. His comeback, after years of self-doubt and addiction, has been nothing short of extraordinary. With his unbeaten record intact and a penchant for showing off his unpredictable fighting style, Fury is driven not just by titles, but by a deeper need to prove he's the greatest. And yet, behind his wild antics and cocky smile lies a man who has faced demons few can understand. On the other side of the ring stands Oleksandr Usyk, the quiet assassin. Unlike Fury, Usyk's journey to the top was built on a foundation of precision and consistency. A former undisputed cruiserweight champion, Usyk is known for his extraordinary technical skill. His rise in the heavyweight division has been equally impressive, defeating seasoned fighters with ease and proving that size doesn't always win in the ring. Yet despite his victories, Usyk has always remained humble, almost reserved. His story is one of discipline and focus, a constant pursuit of excellence in every punch, every move. For Usyk, boxing isn't just a sport, it's a way of life. But even he is facing a challenge that no one can predict. Fury's physicality and unpredictable style could pose an entirely new challenge, one that Usyk hasn't yet had to confront. What happens when the cerebral, disciplined boxer is up against a force of nature like Fury? Behind the scenes, there are also those with personal stakes in the outcome. Fury's trainer, a man who's been with him through thick and thin, knows just how much this fight means. He's seen Tyson's lows and highs and has been the guiding hand, ensuring the Gypsy King stays on course. But even he wonders if Fury's wild ways will be enough against a fighter as meticulous as Usyk. Meanwhile, Usyk's team watches closely, knowing that while their fighter has the skills to win, there's an element of unpredictability and fury that they can't quite prepare for. The stakes aren't just personal for these two boxers, they represent entire countries. For Fury, this is about the pride of Britain, and for Usyk, it's the honor of Ukraine, a nation that has been through its own struggles in recent years. Both fighters know that they are not just fighting for themselves, but for something much bigger. Their countries, their fans, and their legacies are all on the line. But what makes this match so compelling is that it's not just a fight between two men, it's a fight between two contrasting philosophies. Tyson Fury's chaotic brilliance in the ring is countered by Usyk's sharp, calculated moves. Fury may stand tall, but Usyk can slip through openings like water flowing between rocks. Fury's power may overwhelm opponents in one punch, but Usyk's footwork and combinations wear down even the toughest foes. Each round becomes a chess match. Every punch thrown has the potential to shift the momentum. Can Fury land that knockout blow, or will Usyk's composure take him through the rounds, frustrating the Gypsy King's every attempt to dominate? As the fighters move in and out of range, the tension is undeniable. Fury, using his size, presses forward, landing jabs and looking for that perfect opening. Usyk responds with his signature lateral movement, slipping away from the incoming barrage, countering with sharp hooks and straight punches. The early rounds pass in a blur of speed and power. It's clear that neither man is willing to back down, but the question remains who will tire first? Who will break before the other? Then there's the psychological aspect. Tyson Fury thrives on chaos. His mind games before a fight are legendary, often getting under the skin of his opponents. With his playful banter, outrageous claims, and unpredictable antics, Fury has a way of getting into the heads of his challengers, throwing them off their rhythm. But Usyk is different. He's stoic, calm, and seemingly unaffected by Fury's attempts to rattle him. His focus remains on the task at hand, his eyes locked on the bigger picture. But does that calm exterior hide a crack in the armor? Could Fury's relentless banter eventually break Usyk's concentration? Or is Usyk simply too mentally tough to be swayed by Fury's games? As the fight progresses, both fighters begin to show signs of wear. Fury's punches are heavy, but his movements seem slower with each round. Usyk's footwork, while still fluid, starts to show small signs of fatigue. Both know that they are approaching the point where mistakes become costly. The crowd is on the edge of their seats, sensing that something is about to give. The fight has entered its middle rounds, and while both fighters are holding their ground, the tension is unbearable. Neither is willing to give up the lead. The world watches, waiting for the moment when one fighter will make the fatal mistake that leads to victory or defeat. Who will be the first to crack? Who will remain standing when the bell rings for the final time? One thing is clear. The story of this fight is far from over, and the outcome is hanging by the thinnest of threads. It's all about to change, but how and when is still a mystery. The fight is reaching a fever pitch. The once smooth rhythm of the bout is beginning to unravel. Fury's heavy breathing echoes through the arena as the sheer size and intensity of his punches seem to take their toll. Usyk, with his trademark fluidity, slips in and out of Fury's range, landing combinations that leave the Gypsy King blinking rapidly, trying to reset. The crowd watches in awe as the fight has become more than just a clash of power and technique. It's a war of wills, and neither fighter is backing down. But then, something unexpected happens. Fury, whose resilience has always been his strength, suddenly takes a step back. It's subtle at first, just a slight shift in his posture, but anyone watching closely can see it. His movements slow down, his punches lose some of their usual steam, and he begins to breathe heavier than before. The blood begins to trickle from a cut above his right eyebrow, a mark of Usyk's precise work. Fury's face, usually full of swagger and self-assurance, is now etched with concern. It's as if the wild, unstoppable force that once defined him is starting to fray at the edges. Usyk senses it immediately. His eyes narrow as he sees the chink in Fury's armor, the one thing that's been missing in every opponent he's faced an opening. For a moment, Fury looks human. And Usyk, ever the tactician, begins to press the advantage. His footwork becomes sharper, his head movements more exaggerated, dodging Fury's increasingly desperate jabs. With each punch, Usyk seems to unravel the giant before him, exposing vulnerabilities that Fury's opponents have never been able to capitalize on. But just when it seems like Usyk is on the brink of taking control, an unexpected twist occurs. Fury, despite his fatigue, seems to find a new gear. There's a shift, a fire reignites behind his eyes. He grins, almost manically, as if a switch has been flipped. It's not just his size or power anymore, but a deep-seated hunger that emerges, a raw, primal desire to prove that no one can break him. Fury begins to fight with a renewed intensity, swinging wildly but with purpose. The wild unpredictability that's always been his trademark returns with full force, and Usyk, though calm, finds himself on the defensive. The crowd is on their feet, torn between awe and disbelief, as the two fighters go back and forth. Fury lands a crushing blow to Usyk's ribs, and for a split second, it looks as though the Ukrainian might falter. His breath catches, and his legs wobble slightly, but he refuses to fall. Usyk, the master of recovery, pushes through the pain, his eyes steely with determination. His resolve is tested in this moment, but he manages to regroup, countering Fury's surge with his own sharp, calculated strikes. It's a clash of titans, both men caught in a whirlwind of strategy, strength, and raw emotion. Yet, amid the chaos, another layer of intrigue is unfolding. From the corner of the ring, Fury's trainer is frantically signaling something to him, an adjustment, a subtle change in strategy. But Fury, usually so responsive to his coach's instructions, seems to ignore it, too consumed in the battle at hand. On the other side, Usyk's team is starting to look worried, whispering amongst themselves. There's a growing realization that something might not be right. Usyk, despite his impeccable technique, has shown signs of slowing down. His movements are still fast, but they lack the sharpness that they had in the earlier rounds. Could it be the cumulative effect of Fury's power, or is there something more? Is Usyk injured, or worse, is he perhaps underestimating Fury's capacity to endure pain and push through? Then, an even more shocking moment occurs. Fury, with an almost reckless abandon, lunges toward Usyk, throwing everything he has into a wild overhead punch. It's a swing that's almost uncharacteristic for someone as measured as Fury. In that moment, the crowd holds its breath. Usyk ducks, but not fast enough. Fury's fist grazes Usyk's shoulder, causing him to stagger slightly. The collective gasp from the crowd is deafening. Usyk is hurt. His ankle has twisted as he tries to avoid the punch, and the damage is evident. He hobbles momentarily, but his expression doesn't shift. He fights through the pain. Fury, sensing blood in the water, tries to capitalize on the opening. He barrels forward, but Usyk, ever the strategist, manages to back away just enough to create distance, even if his steps are now labored. His face grimaces, but he's not out yet. He's determined. Fury's presence in the ring, his size, his ferocity, they're like an unstoppable force, and Usyk is being pushed to the very limits of his endurance. But there's something more at play here, a silent exchange between Usyk and his team, a look of mutual understanding that this is no longer about technique alone. It's about survival. The final few rounds loom ahead, and the stakes have never been higher. Both fighters are battered, exhausted, and feeling the weight of every punch, every decision. Fury, who has so often been the aggressor, now seems hesitant at times, unsure whether to push forward or to protect his fading lead. Usyk, despite the injury, refuses to give an inch, circling, dodging, looking for the perfect counter. But the tension is growing. The crowd is on the edge of their seats, not just because of the intensity of the fight, but because something feels imminent. Something is about to shift, something neither fighter has seen coming. Who will break first? Will Fury's overwhelming force crush Usyk's technical brilliance, or will Usyk's indomitable spirit carry him through to a victory that no one expected? The fight is far from over, but the mystery of what's about to unfold hangs in the air, thicker than ever. Every punch, every movement, could be the one that decides it all. And no one knows who will emerge victorious, not yet. The final rounds are upon them, and the tension in the arena is at a boiling point. Fury and Usyk are visibly worn, their bodies bruised and battered, but neither one is willing to let up. Every step, every punch feels heavier now, as if the weight of their legacies has been transferred into every movement. The crowd is hushed, holding its breath, knowing that the fight is about to reach its climax. Fury's eyes flicker with determination as he moves forward, but his steps are labored, his punches slower than they were in the opening rounds. He knows he's nearing the limit of his endurance, but the idea of walking away from this fight without the crown, without proving he's the greatest, is unimaginable. Usyk, too, is fighting against time. His ankle injury, though expertly concealed, is becoming a hindrance. His footwork, once so light and fluid, has lost some of its finesse. Yet, despite the visible strain, his focus has never wavered. His strategy has always been to outlast, to outthink his opponents. He knows that Fury's aggression, though ferocious, has its limits. He can feel it. Fury is starting to hesitate, to question his next move. Usyk senses the opening. With one final calculated breath, he begins his assault. The shift happens in an instant. Usyk feints with a jab to the body, and Fury reacts just a beat too late. Usyk slips inside the range of Fury's long arms, catching the Gypsy King off guard. A quick combination of sharp, pinpoint punches lands flush on Fury's jaw, and for a moment, it looks as though Fury might falter. His knees buckle slightly, his vision momentarily blurred. The crowd erupts, unsure of what they've just witnessed. Fury's survival instincts kick in, but the damage has been done. Usyk, sensing his moment, doesn't hesitate. He closes the gap, landing another flurry of punches, this time to Fury's ribs, exploiting the earlier damage that had been building up throughout the fight. Fury staggers back, a look of disbelief flashing across his face. He's been pushed to his absolute limit. For the first time in his career, he feels as though the weight of his persona, the unshakable, invincible Gypsy King, is slipping from his grasp. His breathing is ragged, his movements sluggish, and the energy in the ring has shifted. Usyk, though exhausted, has found another gear. His mind is sharp, his heart relentless, and his body, though battered, is still capable of pushing forward.